If you have been looking at the Softube Console 1 mixing system as a new addition to your home studio to give you that analog feel, to work on the faders and just really elevate your mixing, and as they market it, to speed up your mixing, well, you might want to pump the brakes, watch this video, and I might save you $2,000 in the meantime. I have had the Console 1 mixing system now for a couple of months, and I've really been trying to not make this video, but I have to make it because I've been so frustrated with this mixing system, because it's pretty much unusable in the 3 DAWs that I've tested it against. Now, quick disclaimer, this is not a sponsored post. Obviously, I'm taking my gloves off here. I purchased this with my own money. This is totally unbiased. And as it stands right now, in the end of February 2025, March 2025, this is where the system stands for Pro Tools, Logic, and Luna, which are the 3 DAWs that I tested it in, which it should work really well, at least one of them, right? Well, I'm going to show you the problems I have in each one of them and show you which DAWs it's totally unusable for. So if you use one of these DAWs, you're going to want to watch this video to see how it integrates in with either Pro Tools, Luna, or Logic, and see if you should be buying this right now, because in some of these DAWs, it's totally not usable and you'll be wasting your money. Now, I know Softube will come out with fixes for probably all of these problems. I do not doubt that, but I just don't know the time frame of when. And so if you're looking at jumping on the bandwagon of buying one of these, there's other options out there to maybe consider that might be better integrated. And I can't speak for their DAWs like Cubase or Studio One. I've not tried it in that, so I have no idea how it works in those DAWs, but Pro Tools, Logic, Luna, popular DAWs. A lot of you may be using it, so you're going to want to watch this video. Now, before I jump into this video, what's better than buying hardware that's supposed to help you mix better than actually learning how to make your production sound better, which in my humble opinion is not talked enough about, which is editing. So if you want to learn how to take your editing to the next level, you're going to want to click on the link in the description below to go to my website, songproductionpros.com, to see what other resources I have available to help you take your productions to the next level, because I believe it all rests in your editing skills, whether it's comping, vocal editing, drum editing, all kinds of editing. If you want your songs to be mix ready, to be ready to actually get mixed and sound awesome, you need to make sure you have your editing locked in. And so I would love to show you the things I've learned to be able to take your productions to the next level. So click on that link below, take a look at the resources I have available. Now, before I jump in and show you how the Console 1 mixing system integrates with these DAWs and the bugs that I have been just getting huge headaches over, just a quick overview of what the system is. You've probably seen the videos. It's going to have the Console 1 channel strip and the fader. And in theory, they should be working really well in tandem. If I were to change a knob up here, it will communicate to the fader and vice versa. You have everything you need to mix a song right here at your fingertips. You have your input, which you can also use to simulate tape or a preamp. You have a section where you have a gate, expander, some transient controls, and some other pretty cool little features to place your sound in the stereo field, your EQ, compression, and you have your output, which also has a drive option for some extra saturation. You have 2 options for EQ, 2 options for compression, which is really cool. So you can do serial EQ or serial compression with this. It also integrates with FabFilter and Universal Audio plugins. So you can just load those up and they automatically map, or you can map your own plugins with MIDI. I haven't gotten that far down the rabbit hole. The way that I envisioned using this was really for the fader to really, speed up my mixing and get this to feel more like an instrument. And then I would just load the basic Console 1 plugin, which sounds awesome, over all of my tracks. And then if I needed to get some additional color for more important tracks, I'd either just use the plugin and go into the DAW, or if I can just load it into the system, I would do that. That's a quick rundown, but we're going to get into the nitty gritty. Let's do it. It's also worth noting that I'm on a MacBook Pro, the M1 Pro chip with 16 gigabytes of RAM. I have all the updated DAWs here for Pro Tools, Logic, and Luna. The firmware is all updated on the Console 1 system, and I'm running it on Sonoma. All right, so I have a Logic session open, and I have Console 1 pretty much just on the summing stack. So summing stacks in Logic is essentially like a bus. So I have kick bus here, that has the tracks within it, and those just sum up to that track. I'm mixing from the summing stack, so I'm just using the console one on the summing stack track. I'm not putting it on the individual tracks. But this is what's really cool about Logic, is that even though I don't have console one on all the tracks, I can still control and go to all of the tracks. Obviously, the console one channel strip for a channel that does not have it won't let me use it. I have to put the console one plugin on it. But the fact that I can still see and go to those tracks with console one in console one mode is awesome. Fader works great. Everything is integrated. You don't need to have the console one plugin in Logic to work it. Now, here's the bad thing about having this console one system in Logic, which makes it, for me right now, totally unusable for a mix. And that is, let's say I want to get my levels right for the individual tracks to go into my summing stack. Let's say this is the right level I want. When I page over on the fader and then I go back, the faders go back down to 0. And if I touch it, it goes back down to 0 in the session. So if I wanted to set my levels and then fold this stack in just to mix from the one track, I can't do it. See, go back, 0's out. I don't know what's going on there. I would think that's something that Softube would figure out. But as it stands right now, February, almost going to March 2025, that's a very weird glitch. And it makes it so I can't mix in Logic. Even though I love the integration of Logic, can't work in it. Now, I'm confident Softube will figure it out. So this isn't like a total deal breaker. But if you are a Logic user and you're looking at getting the full console one mixing system, I would wait until you know for sure that that bug is fixed. Now, another bug that I found in Logic, and I'm not sure if I can make it happen again. I reinstalled the software and it fixed it. So this might actually not work. But if I go to hide my selected tracks, they won't hide on console one. And so now that I hid them, it messes up the order on the fader and the console one system. So you can see right now, I'm pushing up the kick, but on the screen here, it's doing that tom. Now it's doing the overheads. I'm trying to do this kick in. Totally weird bug. Also, again, if you're trying to hide tracks to keep your session clean, yeah, well then good luck using the console one fader. Last problem with the console one system in Logic is if I close my project here, for some reason, all the session data sticks around on the console one system, which is also super weird. And that can mess things up when you're trying to get into other DAWs. Sometimes it won't reset, so you're gonna have to like restart your computer. Again, Logic works super well, but then it has those bugs, which makes it, in my opinion, totally unusable. All right, so I'm here in Pro Tools. I have a session open. It's the same kind of session that I had in Logic. Sawtube's console one mixing system just came with an update that integrates with Pro Tools GUI. So that's the connection that happens with Pro Tools. So you can't use the full system in a console one mixing mode. You have to use Pro Tools GUI for the fader to work. And now this is going to come with some limitations. First one is these faders right here don't work. It only shows up to 8 channels at a time. Another thing is you're not going to be able to use full functionality. If I change the volume on the console one system, it does not change volume with the fader. In console one, like with Logic or other platforms, that would actually move the fader itself. And there's going to be some limitations with not being able to set up favorites and other kind of just back-end functionality. Overall, though, Pro Tools is the best DAW that I have to use the console one mixing system. The problems that I have with it are doable. I can work with it. One thing that's really weird is you can see up here that when I scroll through, it shows the colors of the tracks that I have set up in the system itself, but it's not on all of it. For some reason, it chooses certain tracks to show it, others not. Not a huge deal, but when you're trying to mix and you're trying to just kind of like see the colors that you put up for just organizational purposes, it can be a little bit of a challenge. Everything else is pretty good. It works with syncing to the DAW itself. I have console one across all of the channels because you still can use most of the functionality with the console one channel strip in Pro Tools. So overall, can mix with it. There are some weird things that happen though when you go to load in some third-party plugins. You get some graphical glitches. If you can see it up here, you'll get these weird little glitches that pop up like that. And it's just, to me, makes it seem like there's still some instability happening with the connection. So I tend to not use third-party plugins. As you can see, it just went to this weird block. So just something to consider. Maybe not the most stable. However, it still works. Also, when you're using third-party plugins, you're not going to get the EQ graph. That's one of the features with Pro Tools and Console One integration. It will happen with the stock Console One channel strip, but if you start putting in third-party plugins, you're not going to get that functionality, just so you're aware. Other than that, everything works as it should. If I open up my folder here like I did in Logic, I can make all the changes and adjustments and it stays. It's not going to revert back on you. So Pro Tools, as much as I don't want to use it as a DAW, is the most stable so far when it comes to the Console One mixing system. All right, so now I'm in Luna, which this is a big bummer because this actually worked fine until I updated to Sonoma, which shouldn't have broken this because Sonoma is not even the latest OS and everything should be compatible. But now it doesn't even work. As you can see, the Console One system here, the fader, the screens, it like wants to work. When I click around, you can see that it's kind of tracking on that Console One mixing system on the screen, but it's just not even registering. And for some reason, Console One is still bringing up other tracks from an old session that I was doing from just jumping around in the DAWs. So it's, I don't even know. If I open up the Console One plugin, it doesn't even set the name or follow the color of the track, which it did before, but for some reason, now it's not, making this totally unusable. Let's close this. I'm going to open up a session to where it was working, which you can see it does kind of work. It's following the tracks. But again, for some reason, I have tracks over here showing up on my fader that's not in my session. I don't know what that's about. Yeah, everything works. Everything's there except for weird glitches. I don't know what's going on and why this session's working, but when I start a new session, it no longer works. One thing to note, in Luna, you do need to have the Console One plugin across every single channel. Otherwise, it will not register with the hardware. That's not the case with Logic or Pro Tools. You don't need to have the plugin on to use the fader. And then another thing I wanted to bring up, this is with Luna, also with Logic, is they have the way to control sends, but it just says send 1, send 2, send 3, which I wish you could import in the send name because that'd be really helpful, especially when you have multiple sends on a track. You got to remember where that's actually going to when it just says send 1, send 2, send 3. That is the same thing in Logic, not the same thing in Pro Tools. Pro Tools will show you the send name, which is very helpful. Again, making Pro Tools out of these 3 DAWs right now the only usable DAW for the Console One system, which is kind of a bummer because Pro Tools is the one DAW that I don't want to use. So go figure. I hope that this video helps. Again, it pains me so much to have to make it because I love the idea of the Console One. They just got to fix these bugs so I can actually use it to mix songs. I can use it in Pro Tools. I am using it in Pro Tools. I do enjoy it, but there's still some issues with the HUI protocol. It just isn't as seamless as how it should work in Logic or Luna. So I really hope Softube fixes this soon so I can just get back to work and not sitting here trying to troubleshoot. When they do fix it and I start to use it more, I'll make an update video and let you know if my thoughts have changed. But right now I would say hold off on buying it if you've been thinking about buying it and just wait for some additional updates when it becomes more stable. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are. If you have one, have you experienced similar issues? Maybe I have a setting somewhere that I need to uncheck or something to fix all this. I have no idea, but I've been hitting my head against my desk for a while trying to solve it. Been on, threads with Softube and even Sweetwater where I purchased the Console One channel strip to see if they can help me. And I'm still in conversations. It's not moving along as fast as I like. That's the way it goes. All right. I hope you have a good day and I'll see you in the next one.